It is I, Eruptide, in the process of writing something prone to blow your fucking mind, entitled Binary Iterations. Yes, in previous recording, I wanted to come back to this, about how, the topic of mortality. If you're like me, if you're always calling you a cynic, and you're kind of, separate from your own sense of mortality, I don't think you're, sick, or that anything's wrong with you, whatsoever. It's just me and this person on the topic of mortality. I happen to know that I fit on kind of an extreme on the scale of my own personal sense of mortality. And it's not all just great and dandy great, but it does things make me come and circle back around to this stuff about how there's nothing wrong with being kind of connected to and aware of your own mortality in an intense sense. That's not my point. It's just me, I tend to be the one where I'm more if it's not dangerous, it's not fun kind of thinking. And that's never good, It's more about recognizing your own sense of mortality than it is in the burn it up right now because life is over any second kind of thing, at least coming from me. And my messages come down to things more just embrace death, not embrace negativity or anything. Or you're all just crap if you don't understand what I'm saying. No, it's just embrace death. Embrace the fact you're gonna die. Not a whole lot more on that. Because it does get extreme, just with me personally. In terms of just staring down the barrel of a gun isn't always the greatest damn idea, is basically what it is. Same thing with stuff knowing when the fuck to walk away from something like a physical altercation or something else very serious, is it's I'm not always the best on that. But it is kind of the better option. And pretty much most of these scenarios actually come up in people's lives to just set your damn pride aside and just deal with getting yourself out of there safe, as opposed to, fuck it, I'm gonna, show them what's up kind of thing. But yeah, you gotta make your own decisions on these things in the end. It's not me telling you what to do. I'm just saying from the aspects of what I was talking about. That's my thoughts on it. It's not that anybody is at all like me, or gets called a cynic, or any of those things. That any of us are fucked in the head, that ain't it. It's just in regards to specifically this guy. The sense of mortality thing gets into an extreme at times, and I'm always trying to lean away from any form of extremism. What else is on this, chart of things to talk about? Oh yeah, this has come up online a couple times recently. I'm not what's called a mentalist. I can do some of those things, but I don't, is what a lot of it is. I don't. Same thing with hypnotism. I can do that with a willing volunteer, but I don't. And if they wanted to, someone wants to, I'd rather do it with either professional or some form of observational elements. In regards to hypnotism, because it's very much I don't know any therapeutic hypnotism. I know what's termed a show person hypnotism. I know that stuff. It's very simple. There's no point in getting into it without a willing volunteer though. It's better just demonstrated, all of that kind of what is and isn't hypnotism stuff. But no, mentalism is different. That's a different thing. That's where if someone comes to me in person and makes a very specific personal request to have something performed on them called flooding, is the term for it. I'm willing to, once again, with professional outside observers, more than welcome. Non-professional outside observers, more than welcome. And I'll be taking their pulse through the whole thing, too, and the session could stop at any second, at any time. Yeah, that is mentalism. I don't really practice that. You have to, drag that out of me and, beg me to do it. Off we go to Fear Town, to conquer your fears. And people who actually do, in one form or another, mentalism, are not really me, that's not quite what I'm talking about. Some of them are, some of them aren't, research the topic. But it relates into things how it's so I'm not going to blow out every magician's trick and read everyone else's subtext into the internet or whatever. But it's along these lines of I don't speak for others, but I'm not a mentalist mainly because I don't practice it and I won't walk around ooh, But it's also something to understand it's impossible to do anything that actually is mentalism without willing participants. I'm just closer to that kind of thing than some other people are, is probably all it is. I know about it more than I'm the person who like practices mentalism online or something. We do mental exercises on this channel. That's not really mentalism. That's exploring our imagination. That's letting our minds roam free. That's not really mentalism. Mentalism is much more like a guided, like, trying to, and it's much better done under the care of a professional hypnotherapist or whatever form of therapy that a person wanted to do. But I'm more here to say, hey, you know, we people exist. That's a real thing. Some people, like, it's not just they can handle flooding. It's like that's what they, like, want or, like, needed, or they like, need to understand what the fuck sensory flooding is in order to, like, get over whatever their fear is. But it's not a very common thing, and it's not something I offer forward, like, hey everyone, let me flood the crap out of your mind. Some people think that's what I'm doing. That's absolutely incorrect. Like, I'm not a mentalist. It's like, just because I don't do it is why I'm a non-mentalist. Yeah, what else along the same lines? If someone out there, perhaps minis, perhaps one, perhaps nones, their mind's eye cracked wide open by this guy somewhere along the way, life philosophy or something, whatever it was, the thing you might be missing is the mantra. Pain, equate it to illusion. That's what Buddhists are doing. It's not that I don't believe in people out there, quite the opposite. But it's important to recognize that what I'm on is the, like, harder path, where you take all pain and suffering, the entire universe, onto your being, and then you also take all of the hatred of those who would call you enemy onto your being as well. Pull it all into the core. And then in my case, convert it to the color gray, and then over to the color blue. Big shining light coming out from the center, creating a circle, revealing color blue, the word enlightenment. And that's my way. Use whatever color or whatever works for you. If you're anything like this and you're trying to walk this path, I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm saying it's the harder path. What the Buddhists do with this, that's much more like that could be you, and that's totally okay. I love Buddhists. They're great. You know, it's like, they're awesome. But, like, that's the big difference, is they're taking on the mind's eye experience, and then they're saying pain is an illusion. And if you can feel the pain of the entire world through your mind's eye, pain is an illusion is a pretty damn good way to deal with that. And what the hell am I doing? Well, I'm not doing that. It's the harder path, is the way I might describe it. And it's not like other people can't walk it, or I'm some kind of special case where only I can do this. Similar to talking about my own sense of mortality. It's like, I'm not the only one who's like this, by any means, and it's just something to know. For me, and like reckless extremes are to be avoided, is my point on that. And, you know, essentially, like, we're not cynics, we're realists, is what's happening a lot of the time. And then when you're getting into cynical stuff, that means you're saying, like, there is no hope, would be the big word. Other things, like, you know, true cynicism, is things like people they just can't cope with their pain. Whatever it might be, like, they just can't, you know, like, with help or not, period. And, like, that's not my message, you know. It's like, be unafraid to turn to the psychological community, the social assistance, people around you in your area. Be unafraid to turn to family members. Interject honesty into situations as often as is applicable, things like that. And yes, I'm the, like, smiling goth or whatever, confusing everyone. It's okay. Poetry lives in me. Yes, atheists, secular people everywhere, we are all as one mind on a great many things. I rate on the weird of the secular community out there. There's plenty of very standard-looking, standard-talking people that are atheists, secular, agnostic, terms like that. Yes, they are. I come from the more interesting, we're fun side of things. And this is part of it in terms of, yes, we're all opening our mind's eyes over here. The one where you don't just convert all pain into an illusion. You let it come into the center, open door policy, and then you don't let it fester. You don't let it boil. You switch it around to a color, a feeling, a sensation, a mode that makes sense, that fits you and your personal identity, which you define, and not me. So yes, that's the whole big thing that I'm trying to talk about. Well, I've got Amy Lee, beautiful composer, beautiful singer, of the band Evanescence, playing in my ear while I'm writing some kind of really odd wormhole physics, quantum reality. Yep. Also got some other thing I've talked about a little. Nyan, the philosophy of Nyan. Limerick and humanist philosophy mixed in one. And yes, I am an endless, boundless, oh my, of thought. That gets massively complicated, and I'm trying to write it out. And what is that? I don't know. That could be the unified field theorem. I have no fucking idea what that is. And then what's the other one? Quantum reality. Quantum reality sits at a very, on the way there in theoretical physics. Right now it's not just settled science. But in terms of understanding, what that term quantum reality means, it's things like the presupposition that if you are able to quantify and qualify all known matter, all physical, all existing matter in the entire universe, all of it, you're able to do that you would know, based off of that information, you would then know both past and present, as well as have an extremely accurate, if not downright sheer methodology on things like predicting the future, the outcome of future events. That's a theory, as we say in the layperson terms, and in science they call that hypotheticals, or yet to be founded assertions, theorems, that lack evidential bodies at this time. So that's what quantum reality is, in a weird little nutshell kind of thing there. And yeah, there's sci-fi shows that have approached this thing. It's basically within what I was just talking about, it's all the computers of the universe, quantum computers, the whole future figured out. And then there's some guy on the internet sitting there doing life philosophy, ruining it all. Quantum relativity, quantum reality, and quantum predetermination seem to be kind of ruined by the notion of free cognition. That you can make a decision against your base instincts or your better judgment, end up turning out for the better in ways you didn't plan for, and other things like that. Unforeseen consequences and human irrational behavior amounting to something that could prove ultimately fruitful or exemplary, or, it's there isn't a sheer, science will figure that out and then we'll just know everything. It's that's the way I look at that. But it is along the lines of, questioning toward the supposed mind of God existing within the universe, something like that. Because you quantify all quantum particles down to the last and sort them out in quantitative, qualitative sections, assign them all numbers like they're binary values, you probably could get at the kind of precognitive designs that would serve to be at a level of accuracy that it would almost seem like you're able to do godlike things, that you're able to see out ahead of every last single possibility, accurately say what comes next at a consistent rate. But I would say even within this supposedly perfect prediction system, there would still be a fundamental flaw of individual entities and minds being able to separate out from that preordered design and kind of strike their own path. And furthermore, once you become aware that a design or a pattern is laid out for you other than your own, you're much more likely to do the nonconformist thing and say, wait a minute, I'm not going to just outright conform. I'm not going to just walk lockstep in everything you say. Open up your mind's eye. It's a good thing. It's driving you nuts. Pain is an illusion. Is the mantra that I don't go on about much. And if people come to me and they're like, whoa, that's always what I'm telling them. But in terms of what it is, it's, well, I believe in you and your mind and your ability to handle whatever I'm bringing to the table. And if you want to walk the path, or however you want to put it, if all of this seems something that makes more sense than other things you know, that's the big difference from me to others. I'm not the only one who's like this. Well, that's what we do. We take it all on. People call it the weight of the world. It's yeah, that's what we're doing. And we're carefully and mindfully pulling it all into ourselves and converting it into better things, returning the ugly and the bitter and the hate and the malice into our internal power. And you can too, but it's much harder than something like the Buddhist philosophy as it stands in most understandings and iterations. And that's not to say that I am superior or something like that to them. Just that it's different. It's not quite the same thing. So yes, thank you for listening. The wild ride that is Eruptide. Keep in mind that at this stage and pretty much everywhere along the way, my audience are the intelligent and resilient individuals out there on YouTube and the internet at large. That's just what it is. And if you want everyone else to hear about this, then you hit the share, boom, share it out. And if you like it, then click the like. And if you want on the YouTube experience, the 'tis I, you're already there. And if you want on the Bridge crew, that means you're one of my subscribers. So subscribe it. Right now, keep doing lots of random stuff and be more clear about what I'm doing in the future here before too long. Get on board the Starship E and the YouTube experience that you're already doing over here on this channel. Watch every single video. Do it. What else? Oh yes, we know it. Love, peace, and chicken grease.